Update. Would I be the a-hole if I refused to have intimacy with my husband? Original post. Around mid-August of 2019, me 28 female and my husband 35 male tied a knot between us. He has 2 kids from his previous marriage. He and his ex-wife are co-parenting their kids. I really love the kids. One of the major factors why I got married with him was kids. I have reasons for that. My father died when I was 15. My mom wasn't so highly educated, so with that last education qualification, she couldn't provide for me and my other 3 younger brothers all alone. So I started to do part-time jobs. I babysat, cleaned people's yard, took out pets for walk, did assignments of my classmates, etc. I earned really little money with that, but it helped my family a little bit. When I was 17, I took a food delivery job. One night, around 10 or 11, I was dropping food at the other side of the city. A drunk driver hit my cycle and I went into a terrible accident. The driver needed to pay a large fine for that since my condition was very critical. I had a lot of internal bleeding and damage. So because of that accident, the doctor confirmed that in the future the chances of me getting pregnant is very small, that it'll be a miracle for me to have my own kid. I was at the lowest part of my life because of that accident. I couldn't go out or do my work on my own. My family took care of me. It took me around 8 months to get well. At first, I didn't mind having a childless life, but when I started to notice my friends having families, I realized the beauty of motherhood. So I started dating guys with kids. My husband was my second boyfriend. We tied knot after we dated for 10 months. When I got married, his son was 11 and his daughter was 7. I got along with them well. It took them few months before they started to call me mama on their own. I left my job to be the stay-at-home mom for them. Honestly, I really adore them. I have a good relationship with their bio mom too. After COVID, we went to Belgium for our 2nd anniversary on 2021. The trip was all good and I remember feeling so loved. The day before we were supposed to come back to our home, he proposed the idea of opening our marriage. If I say I was hurt, will be an understatement. I couldn't look in his eyes without feeling hollow and sorrow. I said no multiple times after coming back from the trip, but he kept persisting. And after a couple of weeks, I gave up and agreed. He set the terms. I don't remember most of it, but few of his terms was to never share this information with others. We can't date our exes or friends. No emotional attachment with our partners, and always use protection. In his words, he still loves me. He only opened the marriage because he wanted to gain experience and use it in our marriage. I remember going to sleep hurt and crying all night. I gave up my job to take care of him and the kids, yet he yearned for another woman. We became distant. He noticed that and tried to initiate intimacy with me, but I don't feel anything at all. I just lay there until he is done. I also distanced myself from him. The idea of him having intimacy with other women while being in a marriage with me disgusted me. I couldn't look at him the same way I used to. We always have our location on so I could see where he is going. Those used to hurt me a lot until I became completely numb at this point. Now I don't see him as my husband, but someone I tied knots with to be a mother. Last year, I told him I want to start to work again. He got kinda defensive. He listed some reasons to explain why I can't work. And when he saw that all his tricks weren't working, he pulled the kids into the mess. He knew I have soft spots for his kids, but I didn't back down that time. He gave me a cold shoulder and went on a trip with one of his girlfriends. I applied to be a teacher at my brother's high school. He is the youngest of all my siblings and a sophomore. I'm teaching chemistry at a school. My husband was mad at me for having a job for a few months, but he relented and I started to give myself more alone time. Since the kids have extracurricular activities, they always don't stay at home. I have a friend circle from high school. I hang out with them every 2 weeks. I met a guy in my workplace. He is 29 and have 3 kids with his late wife. One day, I ranted about my whole situation. He showed interest in me after that. He is a nice guy. I went on few dates with him. Nothing physical happened between us. I think I am relying on him for mental support since he is very supportive of me. I haven't felt something like that for a long time in my life. Now, a few days ago, I went to the salon and cut my hair short to shoulder length. My husband complimented me multiple times that day. The kids went to their grandparents' house for summer vacation. During the night, he tried to initiate intimacy. Well, I straight up said no for the first time. I think he was taken aback. He had mixed expressions that I can't put a finger on. He started to use the husband card on me, and I put my foot down and said no. We had a huge argument, and he left. I saw his location. He went to one of his girlfriend's place. He didn't contact me for 2 days now. Now I'm conflicted. Even if I don't feel anything towards him, he is still my husband. I can't share this with anyone, so I need advice on this. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Info. Is having children really worth a husband who demanded an open marriage and did not want to have financial independence? It wasn't like that from the early days. After COVID, I noticed some changes, but didn't really pay any attention. That time, all I wanted was to have a child to raise like my own. Before him, I dated another guy with a kid. He was nice, but he had a lot of issues. Plus, I resigned from my previous workplace on my own volition. I really wanted to devote myself to the kid's life. It was a mistake, but now I have a job which pays me double the amount than before. I still love the kids. They're all I could ask for in children. He was already cheating. He just wanted permission after the fact. Leave now. Girl, the marriage was over when he proposed an open marriage. Just divorce. Love yourself more. A man who truly loves his wife doesn't go outside a marriage for anything. Your husband just wants a stable life at home and someone to watch his kids when they're there and have his fun with another woman. He's selfish. Get some therapy, divorce, and live your life. And once you heal yourself, you'll be blessed with a man who truly loves only you. Don't waste any more time and tears on that man. Plus, he wanted her to be financially dependent, so she couldn't leave. And wanting to gain more experience for her sake? What a crock. OP, if you see these posts, take the suggestions. Leave him. He is using you as a live-in babysitter. Now for the first update. Last night I made a post about my current situation of my marriage and asked for an unbiased view. There are almost 300 people who responded and gave me advice. I couldn't respond to any of them since I was overwhelmed with emotions. There are a few things I want to clarify. Firstly, I met my husband after my graduation when I was looking for a job. I made things official with him after I had a job. We dated for 10 months before getting married. Secondly, his ex-wife and him were childhood sweethearts who married each other when they were in college. After the birth of their second child, they realized they don't have the same bond, so they got divorced and have 50-50 custody. Thirdly, few people in my previous post asked me to make things official with my coworker. I would do that when I'm ready. Currently, my mental health isn't in the best state. I'm working on it. Plus, I can't have intimacy with anyone whom I barely know. We've been co-workers about almost a year, but still I am not ready to take that step yet. Lastly, those who are saying I am using sex as a punishment, it's quite opposite. He barely comes home. He is always out with the kids or his girlfriends. I would love to add that he doesn't have just one, but 3 girlfriends. And yes, all of them are aware of my existence. Now to the update. Last night, I made a post about the current situation of my marriage with my husband, asking if I would be the a-hole if I refused to have intimacy. He hasn't come back in the last 3 days or contacted me. The kids talk with me daily. I had few conversation with their bio mom too. They're over at our parents' place. Honestly, I thought he will get over it or won't bother me for a long time. But I was very wrong. During lunch, my mom came over to visit me. She asked if everything was okay between me and my husband. I didn't lie this time. I straight up said no. We had a long conversation about my marriage and I was relieved after that. It felt so good after sharing everything with her. I am not ashamed to admit I cried like a kid in her arms while explaining everything. She stayed with me the entire day. Then she called one of my younger brothers, 26, and told him everything. Saying he was mad would be an understatement. She asked why the heck I would suffer that much and scolded me for a couple of minutes. With the help of my mom and brother, I packed my stuffs. I didn't leave with any of the things he got me. Most likely, we will get a divorce soon. I texted a short message in his number thanking him for being my husband, and I won't be continuing the marriage anymore, along with some personal stuffs between us. With the help of my friend and family, currently I am finding a lawyer. I don't know how long it'll take me to finally get out of the marriage. I left the house around evening and sent the messages around 7. After that, I muted his number. I also told his ex-wife about this. And needless to say, she was as much surprised as everyone, because it wasn't like that. She assured me that even after divorce, she will let me see the kids. I am really grateful for that part. Divorcing him will be easy since we always had separate accounts. I have little savings. Before I get on my own feet properly, I will be staying with my mom in our old house. I turned off my location before leaving his house, but it won't be long until he figures out where I am. He is currently messaging me, but I'm not strong enough to open them and read them, so I haven't responded or read his texts. Well done. If he gets upset, just remind him that he was the one who ruined the marriage by cheating. I say cheating because an open marriage only works if both partners are willing. A one-sided open marriage is just cheating. I hope OP listens to this. She did not agree to this and was browbeaten into submission. That's not an open marriage. He's been cheating on her and trying to justify himself. I know she needs her family to be strong for her right now, but hopefully soon she learns how strong she is and stands up to him and his BS. Good for you. You deserve a life where you are respected and your feelings validated. You will find true happiness as long as you keep advocating for yourself. Seriously, I'm so glad that OP followed what I read most people tell her. She deserves so much better. I must say, I will never understand why someone who is monogamous would ever agree to open a relationship in an effort to appease their spouse and save the relationship. It's over the moment they suggest it, and you might as well save yourself the time and pain of trying to work through it and divorce immediately at that point. Second update. Hi, it's me again. Thank you for all the support you guys gave on my previous post. I would write everything briefly as my lawyer suggested not to share anything too much. I got a lawyer the day after I left the house. He told me not to worry about anything currently. The divorce proceedings started a few days ago. My soon-to-be ex received the paper and he went ballistic. There were several emotional episodes from him. The proceedings will take time to conclude, at least 90 days. We had a prenup before marriage, so I won't be getting any of the assets. I don't want anything from him, plus my payment as a teacher is enough to fend for myself. I just want him to get out of my life and start everything over again. Lately, he have been messaging me a lot, telling me how he misses my cooking and stuff. It just weirds me out a lot, so I ignored his texts and calls. I only talk to him through lawyers. I used to feel trapped in this marriage, but now I feel a little bit free. Some relatives from his side contacted me. Mostly they're accusing me of letting him have his affairs. In their words, it's my fault that I couldn't tie my husband by the side and let him open the marriage. His mother sent few nasty texts, which I didn't expected from her since she's a woman too. I took screenshots of those. I might sue for harassment if anything goes further than just text messages or voicemails. He misses his bangmaid. Stay away from this guy. He's bad news. He wants you to cook, clean, and take care of his kids. He doesn't respect you. Get your divorce. See the kids through his ex-wife and go no contact with him. Check out the book Human Magnet Syndrome. It has very good information on narcissists and codependency. Edited to add, did he say just once that he missed you? Missed your presence? Or was it just, I miss your cooking and how you fold my laundry? I feel like that's all very telling in how he feels about you. It's a very long rant. I didn't even read everything. But basically, he missed how I used to cook homemade food for him. He doesn't like stale food, so I used to cook fresh meals for him always. Overall, he misses me in his house. So he only misses the stuff you do for him. He's selfish. Not the a-hole OP. Be proud that you finally put yourself first. You are valuable and worth to be loved. It doesn't matter if you can't bear children. That's not your personality. You are more than your uterus. I hope you find someone who loves you for who you are and not for what you can provide. Labor, time, chores. Thank you so much for your kind words. All credit goes to everyone for my previous posts. It helps me realize what's right and what's wrong. Last story. Am I the a-hole? My son's dad is about to be homeless and I have an extra room, but I don't want him to live with me. I, 29 female, have an 11-year-old son. His father, 32 male, and I broke up 10 years ago. We have had a decent co-parenting relationship. Son lived with his dad and visited me on weekends/breaks. Until 2 years ago when I discovered that he'd been reported for truancy. His dad just wasn't putting him on a bus to school. Seems like he didn't want to wake up that early, so his dad would drive him to school 1 to 2 hours late a few times a week. Took my name off the school paperwork, so I wasn't informed until I called to get a copy of his report card. I immediately went to court and got primary custody. Son has been excelling in my school district. His grades have improved, and he's much happier. His dad still lives with his parents, and it's been obvious that he's getting more and more depressed. We keep getting called back to court because he's not paying child support. Hasn't had a job in over a year. This isn't an issue for me financially, as I have a very good job and I'm able to support our son by myself. The relationship between my son's dad and his parents has been awful lately. They're treating him like a child, and he doesn't seem to understand how much of a burden it must be for them to be supporting a grown man who doesn't contribute. For a year now, I've been encouraging him to get into therapy and offering to help him with his resume and applications. He accepts the help, but always has excuses on why now isn't a good time. Now, he is being kicked out. His parents gave him a notice to vacate and will likely be taking him to court to evict him if he doesn't leave. We've agreed in writing that our son will not be staying with him until he has a place to live, and my son is happy because his grandparents have been awful to him lately. Son's dad picks him up regularly to go to the park or the movies, and this is working for all of us for now. He claims he has nowhere to go, no one to stay with. He's applying to jobs now, but he doesn't groom himself. He smells bad every time I see him, and he wears dirty clothes. He hasn't had any success with interviews. I've tried talking to him about this stuff, and about getting into therapy once again, but he always has excuses that honestly don't make much sense. I just bought a house and it has an extra bedroom. I am insanely proud of myself. I love having this independence, not living in an apartment and having so much privacy. Some of my friends have been pointing out the obvious solution of offering him my extra bedroom until he gets on his feet. I'm half expecting him to bring this up himself at some point. But I don't want this. I don't want a roommate. I certainly don't want a roommate that struggles to hold down a job, doesn't clean himself, and will be parenting the child I've worked so hard to instill new responsible habits in. We have very different approaches to parenting, and it works well from a distance but would not work together. At the same time, I feel awful if my son's dad was homeless. But this is a result of his choices. I used the time without my son to create a good life for myself, and I don't understand why he won't do the same. I've been trying to give him resources for government assistance, 211, etc., but keep getting these excuses that make no sense whatsoever. Now for the comments. Letting him move in would immediately become one of the worst mistakes of your life. Not a-hole. I completely agree. I worked hard for this house for my son and I. Do not adopt their son just because his parents kicked him out. You already have one child to care for. And my child showers regularly.